The battle lines have been drawn on February 8th at Viral Pro Wrestling.
Lucky cost me my shot, my chance, what I had in the bag. I had the Viral Pro Championship in the bag, and you came out and stole that from me. Lucky is exactly what you're going to need to be to escape this ass whooping.
Six looks to even the score versus Chris Main in a Sweetwater street fight.
I want you to find that grit, Maine. Find that anger. Shine a light deep inside. Find that fire and you bring it.
The Monster Squad will defend the VPW tag titles against the Ugly Ducklings. And Team Legacy battles the Unknown in a 5-on-5 elimination match.
The bottom line is this. Me, Cody, James, Samantha, and John, we have been waiting a long time for this. And Unknown, we are going to beat the living hell out of you.
Legacy, no matter who you get, no matter who jamokes you bring, they gonna all get this work by the Unknown. We're untouchable. We cannot be touched. But you keep thinking it's a game. Every time I turn around, I see you. I see you in the Unknown's way.
February 8th, battle lines. Sean, bring whoever you want, because I am bringing the Unknown.
All this and more February 8th at Sweetwater Gym in Thompson, Georgia. Tickets are available at the door or at bpw.ticketbud.com. Viral Pro Wrestling. Get infected.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by Bubba and Myron.
Good morning, evening, or what time you're listening to this, folks. Nick, when we started doing this, did you ever dream that we would be in a period where indie wrestling in Georgia would be producing promo videos like that?
No, man, and that's the great thing about wrestling, man, is they have gotten, especially here in Georgia, there's this company up in Canton, that pushed the envelope, man, and it pushed everybody to raise their game up, man. And Viral Pro, out down there in Thompson, Georgia, man, they're doing their best, man. They're making the run, and you can say anything you want, but they are making a run to be in that top, 3 if they're not already there, and then they're definitely pushing for number 1 by the end of 2020.
God, heartbroken. I'm at work because I really would like to go see that show. Man, these people are producing. I mean, I'm not saying they're WE caliber. Nobody's WBE caliber, but there's nobody in the Southeast besides Southern Honor putting out stuff like those guys. This is amazing. I don't know if we're reaching a point where Georgia might be the best state for indie wrestling in the Southeast, maybe the country.
I agree with you, man, and we're going to hit it up later at the end of the show. We're going to do some Georgia Indie Talk like always, and a special 3 on Tap. That's right, the 3 on Tap is back. We got a special one for you about some matches we would like to see here in Georgia sometime this year. That's a tease for what you want to catch down the 3 on Tap down the road. But man, hey, first and foremost, before we jump into the pile, we always want to appreciate everybody who supports the show in any form or fashion. And that's, our Patreon members over at patreon.com/tappedoutpod.
Love you. We
love those guys. Anybody that's, willing to pay their hard-earned money to support the show, we got nothing but love for them. So kudos, that's just, No, is there anything better than that?
No, it's the ultimate show of love and affection for your favorite portly podcasters.
I'm with you, man. So, first of all, that's our big one. And of course, we always ask you make sure you're subscribing somewhere, anywhere. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating and review anywhere, that you're subscribing to us. YouTube, yes, go to YouTube, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. We've got a page there you could subscribe to as well to catch all the cool views. And of course, man, if you're doing the Facebook thing, this is usually where you find us every Thursday, 6:30. The video drops right there on Facebook for you to make it easy for you to catch you. And by the way, viewership is ticking up, man.
Yes, going to be one of those top shows on Facebook one day. So
that's the plan, man. That's the plan. But hey, man, let's get into this wrestling talk before we get too far down the rabbit hole of just all of the behind the scenes stuff. It's the time of year where you should be talking about the road to WrestleMania, but WWE is taking a detour for February. It looks like we're heading to a Super Showdown before we get to WrestleMania, and I know a lot of people don't really like these shows, and first and foremost, let's take the politics out of it. So we're not gonna discuss that part at all.
The blood money covered thing. No, we're not going to talk about that. Yeah, I agree. It's wrestling, and I know politics get involved, but I think politics and wrestling go together like shit and strawberry shortcake, in my opinion. I got friends with opposite political views about all kinds of things, but can we just talk about wrestling? We'd be all kind of friends and everybody be happy. Think about that, Nick.
Most people don't realize, like, our political in the majority of things we're pretty close, but there are things that we are opposite ends. Yeah, sure, totally. But it doesn't bother us, right? We don't have these.
We're here for wrestling.
Yeah,
wrestling's there for us too. So this is a wrestling show, not politics. So I don't necessarily agree with Saudi Arabia about a lot of stuff, but it's a wrestling show there. So we'll put all that to the side to just talk about the wrestling. They put on these magical one-off special shows where they bring out the stars of the past, and they put on stuff that you've never seen. There's dream matches, and Friday night you're going to see Goldberg.
Yeah, that's where all this started from. Goldberg announced, they on Raw they announced that Goldberg's coming to SmackDown, and it's he's going to answer his favorite question: who's next?
Okay, so we've had Goldberg and Taker. I know it wasn't the best match you've ever seen at one of the Super Showdowns. Who's next?
So I'll ponder those questions to you. He's had a little bit of Twitter thing going back and forth with Dolph Ziggler. And I know everybody's like, well, Dolph Ziggler could give him a good match, so that's the
Dolph Ziggler's a great wrestler. He's also as boring as a slice of bread.
I disagree. I'm a big fan of Dolph Ziggler.
I like his work. That's about it.
Yeah. I think there's potential. That's not, by the way, that's not the rumor. The other question was, could he get a rematch with Taker to they could fix, get their mulligan for the last one, from where he concussed himself and the match kind of just went to shit after that. Or the major rumor is the Battle of the Spears, Roman Reigns, which would make sense with him showing up on SmackDown.
Yes. And that would be a good match, and that would give you somebody to put Roman over. Another legend to go out there and do the job for Roman to get Roman over, because Roman's cooled right now. Am I the only person that sees Roman as a kind of like he's cooled off? His push is not there. His heat's not there.
No, I disagree, dude. I think what's cool about it is the Goldberg piece would be a great segue to get him away. They did the payoff on SmackDown, so him and Corbin are over, hopefully. But this would be a good way to literally the little stopgap to get his name away from Baron Corbin.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. That's a good idea.
And it separates that Roman Corbin. I don't think anybody would kid themselves and say they were the main event. It's a good way to segue him out from that, like I said, upper mid-card feud to, even though they were putting him on as the main event of especially last week's SmackDown. But then it would be a good stopgap to jump him. and a win over Goldberg immediately, like you said, elevates him back up to that upper echelon of, of matches. So I think Goldberg Roman is a pretty good little story.
How about Sting?
That's the second name that's coming up, is that Sting's, possibly in negotiations to do the Saudi show. But my question is there anybody other than Undertaker that you want to see him wrestle?
Goldberg?
No, Sting.
Sting? No. No, if it's going to come back, it needs to be against, it really does need to be against Taker, so we can have the dream match. The match that people have talked about for, God, what, 40 years?
Feels like it. Not quite, but that's what it feels like,
Well, we'll say 30, because, I mean, I graduated high school and
yeah,
almost 30 years ago, and I know it was raging while I was in college 5 or 6 years later, so.
I'm with you. And then, the rumors of Taker's coming back and the way he's managing his load, as far as wrestling goes, they're saying he's wrestling the Super Showdown probably, but not wrestling Mania this year. By the way, we're going to get into this a little bit, and I'm going to come back. Let me come back to this topic. I was just but having guys like Shawn and Triple H and Kane and, all that kind of stuff, I'm like, this is the perfect playground to run those matches.
Oh, yeah. It's a one-off super house show that 20, 30 years ago you never would have seen at all. It's something special. It's not for us. We can enjoy it, but it's aimed for the big money they're getting from the Saudi people. So this show not geared at us. A lot of wrestling not geared at us all the time. I think this is good. It's something, it gives you a chance to see outside. Remember the old Marvel What If magazines or Marvel What If comics?
The one shot.
You got the one shot story that never affected anything. What if Spider-Man, the spider had bit somebody else? What if, I can't list all the topics. There were always great little mysteries. I think we're getting a TV series out of it, maybe on the internet coming up.
Yeah, Disney Plus, yep.
But you're getting storylines that don't affect anything. They don't affect the main storylines. You're getting a good one off, getting rivalries, matches, wins, and losses that don't matter. Are we getting the big battle royal again?
Yeah, they haven't really gotten all of the card down, but I'm with you. I think the Super Showdown boils down to something real simple. It's something you could get to, like I said, it's a glorified house show. It's essentially out of continuity. I know they blend it in, and obviously, but you could do all these cool things because it's just that. It's for the Saudi, for the crowd. Give them something that's out of the ordinary. And here's what I was getting at. People complain about all the legends coming back for WrestleMania and taking up the spots for the current, full-time stars.
Ooh.
Here solves that problem.
Yeah, you let everybody on the main roster get a payoff without the legends coming back. You get the spotlight of WrestleMania put on your talent that you need to put over, not guys that are already over. Yeah, this. I mean, if we just get away from all the negativity surrounding it in the past couple of years of it, we're getting a great thing here. I like it.
I'm with you. You can use this as the showcase of the legends because that's what the Saudi crowd wants, and then you can build to Mania and build your current stars. Now we always know that Mania is going to have a legend or a star, part-time, whatever that's going to be there for the name draw. But this could be your big playground where the Vince and the creative can just kind of go, okay, just give me two guys that you want to put together and let's put them together.
Well, kind of like what our 3 on tap is today.
Exactly. Check that out later. We're going to announce matches that we would like to see here in Georgia.
Let's go down, Georgia.
So, yeah, I mean, I just think it's all about building, and I think this doesn't really matter as far as things that are being built. So, unlike our next topic we wanted to get into where we're talking about builds and debuts and all that kind of stuff over at AEW, All Elite Wrestling. What triggered this kind of thing for me was, I saw the article this week of, Luke Harper's going to be debuting soon in AEW. And I'm like, no, it's cool I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I think it's cool. But the problem that I had was it was something that, essentially what is he really going to gain And so it was kind of a double thing. I heard two comments. It was one, he was going to be debuting, and then on 83 weeks, Bischoff made the comment that he really doesn't see Jon Moxley as a top guy. And I was like, I paused and I thought about it, and he was saying how two-dimensional he is. He needs to add a little more depth to his character. And then and I asked myself, the more you think about it, is he really just more of a hardcore version of wacky Dean Ambrose because he's not trapped in that PG, WWE era, but the walk, the mannerisms, the coming through the crowd and all that, like, okay, that was essentially wacky Dean Ambrose, right?
Yeah, it sounds a lot like that. Dean is not, he's an odd guy from everything I've heard. He doesn't social media. He values his privacy and being alone, or with he's with his beautiful wife. But he was always the guy in a crowd of guys that were over. He never was the most interesting person to me. But you've only really got two names that can put him over. Maybe three. Jericho, Cody, and Dustin. If you want to get him over, he'd have to go up against one of those guys and get a win on those guys. But can you do that right now? It just doesn't. I don't think they've really put anybody over so far. Okay. We were talking about this on the pre-show.
Yeah, well, that's exactly the topic I wanted to get to on as far as like the debuts coming in, like Luke Harper about, they're going to make him a star. And, I'm like, okay, first and foremost, so the TV's been around since what, October 2nd?
Something like that.
4 months. We'll call it 4 months. However, you got to remember, it was May of 2019 was their big, casino, the Vegas show, whatever. So that was 8 months ago. So between video packages, YouTube, TV shows, pay-per-views, because they had pay-per-views, remember, along the way in the summer and everything. So they were building. My question was, who have they really built? And this is not a total crap on AEW. It's just kind of, let's start there. Jericho he's already a star.
Yeah, a Hall of Famer prior to coming aboard.
Absolutely. Jericho could have never set foot in a ring again, and he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah. Cody, we were told, was already a megastar, right? Before he got there. That's what we were told, that he left WWE and he made himself such a star that the Bucks the same thing. Because here's the thing. We were told the Bucks, Kenny, and Cody were all such a big thing. They were so popular and so big that that's how AEW was born. So if you take those names out of the equation, because they didn't make them, they were already made, who have they really made? And I'm going to make a weird argument. MJF is kind of their best example, maybe. But here's the problem. I felt like he was already heading that way to MLW. Now, it drastically helps that he is on TNT now and more people are seeing him. But I don't think he's any better off there than he would have been in WWE.
No.
Mm-mm. He's an undeniable asshole manager or heel talent that can't be denied.
Yeah, he's a great talent. I think he was going to get over wherever he went. He could have gone to Impact and still gotten over.
But I'm still going to give him credit for him.
Biggest talent. Okay, we'll give him credit for him.
Because he was given a platform. Okay. The funniest thing, as we discussed this off air, and you laughed at first, kind of when we were talking about it, and I'm like, I really think the star that has, and it's just kind of the whole percentage gain is the way I like where they were to where they are now. Who gained the most stardom in AEW, and I will give them a lot of credit for making this guy's a household name as far as with that AEW crowd. It's QT Marshall.
I gotta agree, man. I thought about this. He was a wrestler of name, but he's on big time cable now. I mean, he's bigger than Ring of Honor now. He's getting out there and people are liking him.
Oh, he got over. The crowd loves him.
Yeah.
So that all being said, is that's your biggest star that you've made. I mean, and I mean that by like he's gotten over the most from where he came in from day one.
I think they've got a lot of guys they can get over. I think some of their booking decisions have hindered that. I think this is just my personal opinion that Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus were going to greater things before they saddled them with Marco Stunt. That's my opinion on that. They've got a lot of talent. They sometimes have more talent than they can get on there. The Bucks are. I don't really get the Bucks. I think Kenny Omega's probably done damage to himself since he's been there. I think he's less over since he's went to AEW. But time will be the only thing to tell who becomes your stars and who lasts, because that's the hardest thing in wrestling. It's not. It's getting the whole thing over. It doesn't matter your push. That person has to go out there and do something to get him over himself. And
that's, I think, one of the biggest damages that's been done is Hangman Page. In hindsight, I'm always like, people want to argue with me. I say, I think he would have been better off because we were told he was going to be the face of NXT. And in my opinion, I'm guessing that's probably the Finn Balor spot or the Adam Cole spot somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Is essentially where he would be. And he's kind of got lost in the shuffle there. But that's just me. So the whole thing of that, why I tied that in with those debuts, people talking about the revival should come. Luke Harper's apparently coming. All these other names you hear about coming over, it's, they'll use them better. Really? You think?
Yeah. I wouldn't come if I were a tag team right now. And because the tag team division is odd. It doesn't make any sense to me. The Revival were offered $700,000 each to stay. And Booker T, 2-time Hall of Famer, 5-time champion, told them they should stay. Money means more than titles. Get on TV some, ride your bus, eat your steaks. How miserable could you be with $700,000 on the biggest company in the world selling merch? Maybe they'll give them $1 million AEW. Do they have the money to pay a tag team $1 million each? And they can go hang out with their friends. And you can't tell me they're going to be booked better with better exposure. Every time they come on WWE TV, they get seen by 2 million people. That's an average of 2 million people right now watching that show. So I would rather be a minor guy on a $200,000, 2 million fan show than a big name on a less than 1 million show. And they could easily go back to NXT and be huge. They'd be perfect back there when they had the best match, some of the best tag matches I've ever seen. Just go home.
Well, I mean, it's the build, like I said, it's just being used, the whole used properly. And I think one of AEW's strengths, the guys that are getting over are the guys who do it in the ring with the promo, not necessarily the ring work. And I think most people don't realize that's where the money's made. And I think the video packages that they do, wink, wink, that's what's gotten more people. That stuff has done more for anybody than anything they've done in the ring.
Yes.
And I think they need to lean heavily on that and focus on, let's do a video package. Let's put something together, and then let's get these guys talking. And if they're not strong like on a mic live in a ring, put a video package where they talk so you can edit it. You could reshoot it. You could do what you got to do and put something together, because that guy doing those video packages is pretty damn good. And I would lean on that guy to make a star, before he gets into that ring.
Definitely. Remember the old days of vignettes where 2 or 3 months before somebody came out, you started seeing, this is this guy doing this. And then so when you built a anticipation for somebody's debut, because back in our day, when wrestlers were going to make a debut, you probably didn't know who they were. They were really making a debut, so they introduced, because there wasn't the internet where you saw what was happening in every wrestling promotion in the world at one time. You build the guy up, let him come out and do his thing, get him over before he goes over. You have the best video package people in the country right now working for them. So take advantage of it.
Absolutely, because that's how you build a star, and that's how you bring guys up to the next level. And speaking of something like that, because there's a lot of time and investment into making a star, and that leads us to our next topic. where there's a guy that was essentially made a star, and now he's wanting his name back.
Is that his real name?
I think he somehow has changed his name to Ryback is in his legal name now. But
you do that before you go to the WWE. You trademark your name so they can't take it from you. If they make you, they own that name.
Well, listen, Cody, I mean, he learned the hard way that when they made you a star and they trademark your name, even that gets into a struggle. So keep that in mind. What we're talking about, first of all, let's let everybody know. So obviously Ryback has come out on social media and basically publicly, asked for WWE to drop the trademark of Ryback and give it to him and basically wipe him out of their history because he wants the name trademarked, Ryback himself, because they didn't create Ryback was his story. And we beg sorely to differ on that case.
Well, I mean, what was he? Was he like, what did he do before WWE? What was his gimmick? I mean, where was he at? The only reason you know who Ryback is because of what WWE did. He's not done crap since going. He's done some indie shows. Okay? He's got a podcast. The most thing Ryback's known for in 2020 is saying stupid shit on the internet. Fight me on this one, folks. Find something he's done that's drawn more attention than the stupid shit he does. He sells supplements. $200,000 trying to get his name back. Why you're not doing anything right now? If you want to get people know who the hell you are, people. They know who you are if they see you. Formerly known as Ryback works too. If you wanted to keep your name, you should have done it before you went. Look at Harper leaving the WWE, trademarked his old indie gimmick. So when he goes to AEW, he'll have his name, not AEW. Smart decision.
Well, he's going to have it. He's going to have it because Luke Harper, guess what? Is trademarked by WWE. People don't get, I always tell people that it's an IP issue. Yes. Intellectual property is a huge deal when you spend lots of time. Money absolutely would mean even more so on the WWE side. But I mean, we joke about it. Look, we're a podcast. I mean, we do this video. I mean, I created an LLC. I mean, we went in, you got to get your websites, you got to do all that kind of stuff to try to protect your intellectual property so nobody else comes along and takes it, kind of thing. And we're just a small podcast. I can't imagine sinking millions of dollars into a wrestler and them thinking I'll just leave and I'll still be that guy because now that I've made my name. He's nobody, by the way. We didn't know who he was before. I mean, WWE put him on a grand stage and had him wrestling John Cena and CM Punk and, so forth and so on. And that's how the name Ryback became a name. Without any of that happening, there is no Ryback. So,
my sister-in-law is an intellectual property attorney for Jimmy Buffett. She goes around and sends cease and desist letters to people who use the term Margaritaville for stuff that's not Margaritaville property. They protect that because it's their brand. That's how you make money. If you had everybody else releasing, John Cena merchandise without the WWE approval, they'd be losing money. You can't do that. This is not China. Intellectual property is the key to making money with your brand name. And they're keeping Ryback because they don't like him. And McMahon will do that stuff. Maybe when McMahon dies and Triple H takes over, he'll gift you Ryback and you can go on to a phenomenal career working Ronnie Gossett shows. Okay?
Sorry, you got me there a little bit.
They ain't shit to be done with it. Okay? It's not worth anything in the first place. If you spent $200,000 trying to get your name back, you spent $200,000 that the WWE gave you for your work. You should have kept your money there, big guy.
I agree. But hey, good luck. And I just think intellectual property is a whole different avenue to go down and have those discussions. And, like I said, if you know an attorney who does it, then it could be complicated, and it does. It just opens Pandora's box for guys to think they can come in, make it, have somebody give them a platform, make them a superstar. Then I'm going to jet out. I'm going to go be a star over here on the side. But, I don't know. This is an awkward transition because we're not saying they're connected. Let's segue over to our next topic. Another one that came out this week, obviously, is lots of discussions about wellness policy violations and
Ryback to steroids is a huge jump.
it's a separation there. We just want to make sure we're not linking them for that reason. But it was we wanted to get in about what our thoughts were on steroids specifically. Like we don't even want to go down the avenue of, look, marijuana the way it is right now, marijuana testing should be pretty irrelevant in the wellness policy, in my opinion, because there's so many states where it's legal. So on. So, granted, obviously I'm a big proponent of if you're, doing cocaine and you're doing painkillers without prescriptions, all that stuff needs to be regulated. So, but the question came down to steroids in pro wrestling.
Yes. And
I don't know how, where people fall on this, but I'm just a huge proponent of, I just don't think it matters.
It's a difference between cheating at solitaire or cheating at poker. Okay. The WWE is not, let's face it, folks, it's not a legitimate competitive sport. You're not out there winning Super Bowls based on your performance taking steroids. You're out there putting on a performance. You're putting on a show for the fans. You're looking better, performing at a higher level, and recovering faster. The last few wellness pods, I don't know what the one on Andrade was. I haven't kept up with that. But Roman's was Adderall. Eva Marie's was Adderall. The problem was not that they were taking Adderall. The problem was they didn't turn in their prescriptions for Adderall to the wellness policy people so that it could be approved. So if you get a legitimate prescription and are under doctor's care, WB is not that concerned with it. I don't think anybody should be concerned with it. It's your body. As long as you're not violating the law, go for it.
And that's where I feel that steroids should be pretty much the same thing. If you're, because like you said, there is no competitive advantage whatsoever to taking steroids in wrestling. It's entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell me, and I don't want to name actors. I did it on when we were off air, and I thought about it. I was like, I'm not saying this guy takes steroids or that guy takes steroids, but we've seen lots of action movies and stuff like that. When you see a guy and you're like, that dude juiced like crazy to get in shape for this movie.
75, and he looks like Hercules. Yeah, I'm feeling like that.
So my point, I'm sorry, was real quick to say is that it's entertainment. It's an aesthetic business to look good. Yeah. My thing is if you're under a doctor's care and you're going to see your doctor regularly and he's prescribing the steroids and you're under some kind of medical supervision and the WWE knows about it and that paperwork's being turned in, to me, it's exactly the same. I mean, yeah, I'm telling you now, here's the crazy part. In the wellness testing and the drug testing, test for steroids. Because if you find somebody who's taking the steroids, but they're not under any care and they don't have a prescription for it, then that's a problem. But if they can prove to you and they turn in the documentation, this is my doctor, here's the prescription, I see him every 1 month, 3 months, whatever whatever the cycle is, I have no clue. And they can prove that, I don't care.
I take steroids. I take testosterone. It's legally prescribed to me by my general practitioner. She monitors my testosterone levels. She checks all my blood work to make sure it's okay. Totally legal. Perfectly safe if monitored.
And I don't think it gives you any competitive advantage on the podcast over me.
No. It makes me a bit of a dick to deal with sometimes. I'll go ahead and say that, but it makes me feel great. I feel better about myself. My lesser depression, lesser inflammation, more libido, more manly feeling. but it doesn't have anything to do with the podcast. So if we start testing, I'm going to go ahead and get you my prescription sent in.
Exactly. So we'll
Podcast enhancing drugs.
Happens, brother. It happens. So we may have to start drug testing now that I've.
Well, I have to get a competitive advantage over these people because we got to make money off this shit.
Exactly. So, well, speaking of making money, man, before we get into the Georgia Indie talk, let's, once again, Viral Pro Championship Wrestling got something a little special for you. Check this out. They've got a big show coming up this weekend, and you don't want to miss it, man, because these guys are crushing it down there in Thompson. So, ladies and gentlemen, Viral Pro.
The battle lines have been drawn on February 8th at Viral Pro Wrestling.
Lucky cost me my shot, my chance, what I had in the bag. I had the Viral Pro Championship in the bag, and you came out and stole that from me. Lucky is exactly what you're going to need to be to escape this ass whooping.
Six looks to even the score versus Chris Main in a Sweetwater street fight.
I want you to find that grit, Maine. Find that anger. Shine a light deep inside. Find that fire and you bring it.
The Monster Squad will defend the VPW tag titles against the Ugly Ducklings. And Team Legacy battles the Unknown in a 5-on-5 elimination match.
The bottom line is this. Me, Cody, James, Samantha, and John, we have been waiting a long time for this. And Unknown, we are going to beat the living hell out of you.
Legacy, no matter who you get, no matter who jamokes you bring, they gonna all get this work by the Unknown. We're untouchable. We cannot be touched. But you keep thinking it's a game. Every time I turn around, I see you. I see you in the Unknown's way.
February 8th, battle lines. Sean, bring whoever you want, because I am bringing the Unknown.
All this and more February 8th at Sweetwater Gym in Thompson, Georgia. Tickets are available at the door or at bpw.ticketbud.com. Viral Pro Wrestling. Get infected.
Well, brother, are you excited about this, man?
That's a beautiful looking card. I'm a huge John Davis fan. This is, you've got the best of Georgia, North and South Carolina at this show. They put together phenomenal cards. They put together great promo materials. The one thing I'm concerned about, if you talk to Mr. Kitchens again soon, are David Ali and Lucky Ali related?
That's one of the we need to check. We need to do the test.
Yeah,
DNA test, right?
Yes, but there's some great the beautiful show, promotional material, great card. Another win for Viral Pro. I love what they're doing. I love the steam they're gaining. And, man, February 8th, Sweetwater Gym, 1742 Renz Highway, Thompson, Georgia.
Yeah, man, make sure you get your tickets at vpw.ticketbud.com because right now, if you get them online, you're going to save a couple bucks off all the tickets. The door prices are $20 for the front row, $15 for the floor, $13 for general admission. Of course, take $2 off of all of those if you get them online, which makes it $18, $13, and $11. Remember, door time is 6:30, bell time is 7. And again, that is at 1742 Renz Highway in Thompson, Georgia. That is February the 8th. That's this week, Betty. That's this weekend. And you're going to see this 5-on-5 elimination match has been building and building. You know, it's just something that, Legacy cannot just, the Unknown will not leave him alone. And he's had to, put together this awesome team to face him. Obviously, you see there the Monster Squad, the champions of the tag team champions, facing the Ugly Ducklings. And, man, we love the Ducks. We've seen them plenty of times, and they're awesome.
Definitely.
So, and of course, hey, it's not up on the screen, but one of Georgia's, if we've said top to bottom, one of the best wrestlers is going to be there. Joe Black will be there. Chip Day's going to be there. You might hear those names coming up pretty soon again. So right here at the end of before we get out of here on this show, but make sure again, this weekend, February the 8th, 1742 Rennes Highway, Thompson, Georgia, Sweetwater Gym, Viral Pro Wrestling's Battle Lines. Get your tickets over at vpw.ticketbud.com. Well, brother, here we are, man. Got a great card. So we're talking Viral Pro, all the great things they're doing. But let's talk a little Georgia Indie talk about some of the other stuff going on.
Oh, yes.
So what do you got from it this weekend? Because I know this weekend we've got Viral Pro. It's a rare weekend where Viral Pro Wrestling and Southern Honor Wrestling, same weekend.
Yeah. I love these busy Georgia wrestling weekends. I hate the fact that I work most of them. I'm going to be able to get to do Southern Honor Friday night. As usual, just absolutely stoked for that show. I would be so stoked for Viral Pro if I could get there. That's one of my bucket list shows. There's great indie shows all over Georgia this weekend. You got Anarchy on Saturday night too.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, we live in a boom period. I don't care what anybody says. There may not be a global wrestling boom, but indie wrestling in Georgia is dynamite right now. We had Southern Fried last weekend. I had to miss the women's show at Anarchy at the Landmark, the Empower show. Unfortunately, I would have really wanted to be there at that show. Have you got any observations out of the last couple of weeks of indie wrestling, Nick?
Southern Fried show. It was the main event. Okay, let's backpedal up because I do want to say the return of Ike Cross completely lived up to all of the hype. Years ago we said Ike Cross is a star. Just it's waiting to happen. We had a chance to go back and talk to him, and I think not that he wasn't before, but I think this time he seems more determined, more focused. And when he starts making this move, guy's going to be, and let's be blunt, dude, he looks like a star.
Yeah.
He's got the charisma. People love him. I mean, that ovation he got at Southern Fried was just undeniably one of the best ones we've seen in a long time. And Ike is going to be somewhere as long as he keeps, his focus and his direction and he's heading down the right path. He'll be in NXT. He will be in AEW. I don't think he makes stops somewhere between, the Ring of Honor, or Impact, or any of those. I think he's a star waiting to happen.
And kudos to David Ali, who got a concussion midway through that match and still finished the match and did some phenomenal spots still with that concussion. I don't want to encourage working like that, but he showed off in a state where he could hardly walk. He did some stuff that was amazing. I got a fairly bold prediction. We're going to see CT Keys in higher and higher spots. We're going to see him maybe most improved, maybe wrestler of the year one day. That guy is really good, and he looks like a wrestler. I think he's a big deal. I think he's going to be an amazing deal. Decent turnout at the show. Got to see a lot of our friends. Can't wait for JBE to come back on that show. That's me. But it was different.
The some of the buzz, the scuttlebutt coming out of that show obviously was Jacob Ashworth being in the crowd. What does that mean? What is it? And I think right now everybody's best to probably just leave it kind of alone and see what happens before judgment is made. And sometimes when we end in these situations, I am like, who am I to judge? So it's hard to be in that spot, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on and see what happens going forward.
It's not my business. That's the best way I can look at that. I don't like commenting on controversial stuff because I have friends on both sides of any argument. I think we're going to see changes in Georgia wrestling, I think we're going to see people come back that hopefully they've made their penance. So.
Yeah. But yeah, between Southern Honor and Viral and Anarchy running this weekend, Southern Fried last weekend, it's a loaded weekend, and some of the matches on those cards look amazing. And so we sat down this weekend. We're like, okay, we got to get the 3 on tap back where we get our 3 things of something. And the one that we had is, believe it or not, friend of the show, Alan Tucker, sent us a suggestion, because we've been asking, like, what are things that you would like to see, top 3s, top 5s, top 10s. Top 10s will be separate shows, by the way. We decided we're going to not do top 10s here. That'll be with like an entire show if we go forward. But we'd like to keep it like the 3 on tap is like 3 quick things of things. And so this week we came up with something a little bit different. It's 3 matches that we want to see in 2020. That it's something that we haven't seen personally. We're not saying the matches never happened, because there's so many promotions in Georgia, South Carolina. The matches could have happened and probably have
above average chance.
Yeah, but these
I think maybe there's one match that hasn't, but if it had happened, neither guys were
where they are.
Yeah.
And so so again, it's the top. It's 3 on tap. 3 matches we want to see that we haven't seen that we want to see in 2020.
Yeah.
So let's start at number 3 first. We went back and forth, and we came up, and there's different reasons why we came up with these matches. And one of them is just entertainment factor. We were like, look, it's not going to be, the 5-star classic, wrestling match, quote unquote, but we would just think it would be so entertaining. And that is Drew Blood, who clearly he worked Friday. So he's we're not saying he's back, guys, but he worked a match.
Back, Drew. Come back.
And versus the one and only, the Boozerweight, Matt Sells. That would be entertaining.
It would not only be entertaining, it's those 2 guys are very skilled workers, very good wrestlers. Also 2 guys that can make you laugh. So you would get a entertaining match, an amusing match, and an impressive match all in one. So this is the kind of thing, if you're going to go with comedy, you got 2 guys that can make you laugh and can work their asses off. So I like this one. I don't know where it would go, but I would like to see this match.
I just think those 2, that their strength at their core is entertaining an audience.
Yeah.
The entrances would be 5 minutes between the 2 of them. Their entrances are, so you got to give them time, because their entrances alone are going to be substantial. But I just think it would be a good old school yet entertaining, because it would be more entertainment value. And that's the crazy thing. Both of these guys can work.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be leaning more to the sports entertainment side, but an old school sports entertainment side. And I think that would be just a very fun match to see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This one, it just at my core, I think there's probably like an old school heart of Georgia that wants to see this match again, because both of these guys on their game are as good as it gets in the ring. And one of them just recently returned, and that is Kyle Matthews. He recently showed back up at, Southern Honor, and then we're starting to see him at some other places pop up. But the other guy, I tell people all the time, kind of like Ike, when motivated, focused, and heading in the right direction, Chip Day is one of the best wrestlers in Georgia.
Yes. I agree 100%.
So give me Chip Day versus Kyle Matthews with some time, and just turn those guys loose. It's a match I would absolutely love to see again.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
So
it's the amount of talent there, the amount of skill there, and 2 people who really do know how to work. It would be amazing.
Yeah. I don't know that wrestling, and I don't mean that derogatory, like pure wrestling match. It would be tough to put that, anything up against that, because those 2, I honestly believe, would tear the house down. And I mean, Kyle Matthews, for crying out loud, was, Mr. Technician of the Year forever. And then of course, Chip Day, like I said, when he's on his game, dude, he's just tough to match. And I mean, look at him. He's finally, he's hitting the Carolinas. He's hitting, he's hitting down at obviously at AWE. His basic, what I call his home base is AWE. He's going to be down at Viral now. I mean, he's starting to get hit in the road again, and bam, bam, bam. I just think this match would be absolute fire.
Yep,
but
definitely.
Now for number one, this match has to happen. Unfortunately, we're going to have to tell you exactly where this match has to happen, because I think in this scenario completely matters. It has to take place at Southern Honor Wrestling.
Yes.
Because both guys are on a collision course in 2020.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Gunnar Miller returned, and obviously he's, making a name, that he's just paving, and maybe paving's the word. Maybe he is plowing his way through Southern Honor Wrestling right now.
Yeah. Yes.
And there's one, the whole irresistible force versus the immovable object. I think the opposite side of that coin is Joe Black, who's doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
After, we sold you. Joe and Huck put on easily the front runner for match of the year.
Yes. And the thing about that is that match was so memorable. It has the ability to not be forgotten when we vote for match of the year or feud of the year again in December. That match was that important and that memorable. Joe, the amount of his can be so brutal, you miss how good he is technically and how good a worker he is. So Joe is a guy who can perform at so many different levels and is quite a hoss also. And Gunnar is Gunnar. He's just amazing specimen, and a guy who cut a great promo last show. Look forward to this, folks. This match right here has the potential to be one of the best matches you've ever seen.
It's because the same thing. It's not going to be. It's not a technical, And this is the crazy thing. Joe can do that.
Yes.
But this match to me is just literally going to be two bulls slamming into each other, and just and going at it. And I think, like I said, Southern Honor. There's only going to be so long that you can keep these two, away from each other. I just think they're on that collision course that eventually this match happens. And when it happens, throw the money, man. Throw the money to go see it, because I think that's the match that right now, I think that's the one I want to see the most this year, that we, like I said, have not seen in person. So
I agree 100%.
Man, hey, if you've got other suggestions, obviously we always tell you, you can comment, boom, right below on the Facebook if you're watching us there. Comments who you would like to see. You can always, at Tapped Out Pod on all forms of social media, Facebook, Twitter, private messages, DM us, let us know. Is there something you want to see? What are your matches you would like to see that you haven't seen? Email us at tappedoutpod@gmail.com. That's an easy one too. But the big thing, man, is, hey, just always, no matter how you're involved, you can comment on the YouTube videos, man. Go to the if you're watching it there, comment down through there. Let us know what you think. I'm always reading those. Pretty much every time somebody's commenting on there, I'm checking, liking them, responding, trying to interact with you guys as much as possible. But if you really like the interaction with us and you want to see everything early, you want to see some cool stuff, because, like I said, hey, we talked about cutting something today for Patreon. So join us at patreon.com/tappedoutpod. Sign up. Hey, we think it's worth it. We appreciate the support. That's the big one more than anything else, is we appreciate your support.
Just do it because you love me.
Yeah.
Valentine's is coming soon. I can be your online Valentine's if you just give money to the Patreon.
Absolutely agree with you, man. And of course,
Valentine's cards for you and send them.
This week we switched it up a little bit. You've got the I'd Tap That Tee on.
Yes.
So if you want a good I'd Tap That Tee, or the two other options we have on our prowrestlingtees.com/Tapped Out Wrestling podcast page, go over there and get one of the 3 shirts. Today I'm rocking support for our good friend of the show, Tennessee Stud Ron Fuller, the Studcast shirt.
Man, I love that show. I just absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's one show that I think it presents wrestling. We hear that presents wrestling in a positive light. I think it does more to present wrestling in a good way than just about anybody out there. And it's not just a nasty show, and it's just not rumors. It's just good quality wrestling entertainment.
I 100% agree with you, man. I love nothing but love for Ron Fuller and the great storytelling he does over there at the Studcast. So, if there's any other podcast this week we want to recommend you check out the Studcast. Nothing but love for him. But, well, man, that's all I've got. You got anything else this week, or?
I'm about tapped out, Nick.
Well, what's the old saying, man? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it, brother?